So between the nectar and the glowing, they're pretty successful at luring their prey. One of the most interesting thing is their trigger for closing. So they have sensory hairs inside, and they're called trichomes. And when something lands inside, it doesn't trigger right away. So the first trigger, it just assumes is false. Like if some pollen falls in there or a piece of grass. So it actually has like a built-in system to not just clamp down on anything that touches it. It needs to know that it's food, so it doesn't waste that energy closing, because it can't keep doing it.
Yeah, people can't just put their coffee mug on there and just be like, ooh, food.
Well, they could, but it won't close at first contact. So the way it works is basically they try to sense movement. So the first movement is detected, but it doesn't trigger anything. The second movement must occur within 20 seconds. So if something moves again within 20 seconds, then it snaps shut. And then the third movement, when they struggle, then they start digesting. So if there's no struggle, they won't digest. They'll just assume, no, this wasn't food.
So if I'm ever...
They'll eventually open back up.
So what you're saying is if I'm ever in a Venus flytrap, like a big one...
Mm-hmm.
Like the one on Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, once it closes on me, I just kind of stand still.
Yeah, just stay completely still.
I'll probably be like
just
shaking.
pretend that the bear is sniffing you. You're just
playing dead.
Playing dead.
Yeah, for sure.
Contrary to their name, they actually primarily eat ants. Mostly ants make their way in there.
See, how fast do these things close up?
It's actually pretty fast. So once they sense that second one, it's like probably a 2-second thing. Like it starts real fast and then kind of slows down.
That's funny because when I think of ants, I mean they're not fast, but they're fast enough.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. Before, like, the ant doesn't realize what's going on either, and then they have those little like claw edges.
Things, yeah.
So they don't actually close all the way, but those little sharp edges or hairs, whatever they are, keep the insect trapped inside. So, and so primarily they eat ants, but they also do eat flies. Sometimes beetles, slugs, and spiders, and even tiny frogs sometimes find their way in there. Some tiny frogs can get out. They're not that strong, but some of them do get stuck and get digested depending on how tiny the frogs are. So most carnivorous plants, they don't eat primarily, or their nutrition isn't primarily the insects. It's supplemented by the insects. So a lot of these carnivorous plants live in areas that don't have good nutrients in the soil. So they have to get the sun, the water from the soil, and the creatures being digested to live and thrive. So kind of interesting. Another type is the pitcher plant. So that's called a pitfall trap. Obviously, this is one that has like the slippery walls. So if something crawls in, they slip all the way to the bottom.
It's like the toilet bowl of...
Yeah. And there are digestive enzymes at the bottom. So fun fact about pitcher plants, they are not deadly to everything, mostly just small insects. Many pitcher plants make temporary shelters for aquatic creatures. Frogs can be found inside. They can even grow from tadpoles in the water or in the fluid of a pitcher plant. So
that sucks.
It really only digests like real small, weak insects and things like that. And actually, no, it's very good for the frog because they have that leaf cover over the top. It looks kind of like what is that Pokemon?
I don't know.
Wrong week.
Is it one of the first ones?
Yeah, one of the original 150.
Oh,
the Weeping Bell and the Victory Bell. It looks like it's actually got that leaf over the top.
Oh,
so it provides nice shelter. With the leaf over the top of the pitcher, and it's actually kind of a good habitat for a frog. It's safe.
That's interesting.
Yeah. The strangest team, though, is the pitcher plant and the bat. So some high-hanging pitchers. So there are low-hanging ones and real high ones in trees. And the high ones, they grow up a vine, like along the base of the tree. And up at the top, the woolly bat will take up residence in high pitchers, and their excrement will provide the plant with much-needed nutrients. So they're almost symbiotic. So the bat sleeps in there, hanging on that leaf structure at the top, and it gives the plant nutrients. So it's safe for the bat, good for the plant. Crazy part is,
what's good for the bat is safe for the plant.
You know what they say. The crazy part is, though, according to Mental Floss, those hotel room, and there were the air quotes, the hotel room pictures have a special reflector dish shape. So when the bat uses its sonar system to explore the forest, the plants stand out like kind of like a neon vacancy sign. So they're actually the plants actually either have adapted or just conveniently have this system built in to attract the bats.
I'm just picturing a little small plant hotel.
I know.
Vacancy, no vacancy
Yeah,
sign.
it's like breaking. It's going.
Yeah, I like the way they worded that. Another type is the flypaper trap. This is a style. This can be found on sundews and butterworts. So these are more of the
I
common.
love everything about her.
Butterworts. The surf. Oh man, I'll give. Yeah, you're just tickled by your own jokes there. that was a good one. So
I'm not talking about my wife, by the way. My wife is worthless.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I'm on Hollywood Squares where you fed him the straight line and he had all that time to work on it.
Yeah. So the surface of the leaves are covered in basically like little stalk glands that trap the insect like flypaper inside. The plant senses and then releases digestive enzymes. So they basically have leaf stomachs.
Leaf stomachs.
Yeah, that's
a scientific term.
That's my own term. Yeah.
Oh.
There are also suction cup traps, or suction traps they call them. These are unique to bladderworts. So it's got, like, they call it bladderwort because they have bladder-like traps. So these plants have trigger hairs, but these are incredibly fast. When triggered, they snap open and suck in their prey. They're so fast that scientists need high-speed cameras to study the action. So these live in water, I believe.
What are they called again?
Bladderwort.
Bladderwort.
So it's a bladder system, and they use the pressure to just open and get their prey. Finally, you have lobster pot traps, my favorite named. These triggered traps that eject tiny lobsters at their prey, who will inevitably suffer death by pinching.
I don't know how official this is, but
he wasn't even listening.
No, I was. Because I wanted to look up a video of this plant.
I want a video of the lobster trap.
Was
emitting these little lobsters.
That was a joke. The lobster pot trap is an actual trap. It does not actually eject lobsters, though. So basically, they're just corkscrew.
You wasted all that on Billy, who wasn't paying attention.
He wasn't even paying attention.
Sorry.
A lobster pot trap is like a corkscrew plant, and it has tube-like channels, and basically the prey just gets in and gets lost in all these tubes, and then they end up being slowly digested. They can't find their way out, and there's hairs that prevent them from like getting back out. So that's all that is.
And just, I know the reason why I wasn't paying attention because I was looking up the bladderworts.
Yeah.
I was looking up the videos. A lot of them are just saying fastest plants in the world.
Yeah.
So that's actually interesting. It is for as far as their own movement is concerned.
Now, are they underwater, or do they just use like existing water and they're above ground? I guess they're above ground, huh?
That's some crazy magic.
Or is that algae? Like, what is that? Is that underwater?
Was that?
It sucked it in.
Wow. And that was slow motion. They were showing you like frame breakdown.
Go ahead, Dan. Maybe we'll get Billy back.
So I'm basically done here. Carnivorous plants are very cool, and they're much more common than I realized. So that was just a few of them. But they can be found on every continent except Antarctica, obviously. Venus flytrap is native to bogs in North and South Carolina. So we have a lot of Venus flytraps in that region of the U.S. They almost always grow in challenging places that most normal plants could not make it, could not survive.
Antarctica isn't obvious, then, is it?
Boom.
Well, I mean, it's a plant. It can't live in frost.
Plants are amazing.
Not that amazing. And yeah, like I said before, they always live in challenging places, and they supplement their diet because they don't get enough nitrogen from the soil. They do still need sunlight and water to live.
When you were talking about interesting plants, I was really surprised you weren't going to talk about the miracle fruit.
Well, that's a fruit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I understand it doesn't really fit into your theme, but as far as just interesting abilities of plants,
well, specifically, I was talking about carnivorous plants.
Sure.
So
right. Well, right. That's what I mean. Yeah. And I mean, maybe we can go into it later, but there's actually a fruit. It's called the miracle fruit, and it's supposed to have a chemical inside of it, which I don't know if it's official, but they called it miraculum, which I think is just an awesome name. But I'm not sure that's a nickname or what. But like for people who are undergoing like chemotherapy or whatever, and they kind of lose some taste in their mouth or lose all taste.
Oh, that's that thing.
Yeah, they can eat this fruit, and it is somehow stimulates or changes the tongue receptors.
Yes.
To be able to sense taste for a little while.
And you could taste things like if you have taste, you could taste things that much more extremely.
Yeah, because I was actually my wife and I were in Florida, and we were taking some kind of I don't think it was like a nursery per se, but it was like a lot of plants that you can take a tour of,
like a garden, like a tour of a garden.
I don't really remember what exactly it was called or what kind of place it was, but they had a miracle fruit. And they said that we actually had someone come in one time who was going through something and they had no taste, and they were able to taste one, or they had an experience where they tasted one, and the person just broke down in tears for being able to taste again.
I remember they talked about that on Stuff You Should Know a while ago.
Did they really?
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's very interesting. They don't really know how it does it either, as far as I know, unless they figured something out since I heard that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's unbelievable that a fruit can bring back taste for a little while. Mm-hmm. That's just wow. So
hence the miracle.
Yeah,
miraculum. All right, so before we get into our final segment of the day, we want to make sure we bring up our sponsor.
I thought he was going to apologize for ruining my final segment.
No, not even close. So, has this ever happened to you? So, you're going to the pharmacy and you got to get a razor, and you get up to the little razor thing. You want to get some new cartridges or whatever, and it's always locked up. And then you gotta go to the front and find the person with the key, and then you walk up there and you say, "Hey, I need to get some cartridges," and then they go, "Okay, well, I'll get the key for you." Wow, that's a great shirt. And I go, "Thank you."
I thought Dollar Shave Club picked us up.
I go, "Thank you." This is from Fed Up Apparel, the place that makes shirts so comfortable that you think they're pillows.
Wow, that is very specific.
Yeah, so our sponsor is Fed Up Apparel, and it's a company with a great message, very positive vibes. A company that's against hate, against bullying, just about promoting each person individually and everything they can become. And like I said before, they're super comfortable. I love wearing my Fed Up shirts, and we're actually thinking about going wherever they're going to get shirts for us because. Awesome.
Except that I'm pretty sure we'd all be fed up with people coming and trying to put their heads on our chest and taking a nap.
Depends.
Depends on the person.
But yeah, so if you want to get an awesome shirt that actually means something, head over to fedupapparel.net, and when you get to that little promo area, you can type in Rogues10 for 10% off your order. That's fedupapparel.net for beautiful diversity. We are human together. All right, Jeffrey, what do you got for us?
Well, I've been working for quite some time on.
He's so full of crap. He is so full of crap. We were just talking yesterday. He goes, "I gotta do both my topics."
Well, I had to finalize them, but I've been since President's Day. There was first of all,
since
Christmas. Going back to our trivia rogues or our trivia night on Tuesday.
Team.
It is.
Yeah. That is
going to our
right
trivia night. We always get presidential trivia stuff, and I'm like, I should just expand on that, do stuff that we might ever see there. Mm-hmm. So that was my genesis. President's Day, I remember there was a radio show I was listening to. It had some trivia stuff, and there was a question there. I was like, I can remember that one. I really like that one. So little by little, I've been writing stuff down. It's finally like, you know what? I'm lazy. I'm going to just work on presidential trivia. So I'm sure you guys know, but I mean, my social media presence is vast. It's just hard to keep up on my flip phone, and nothing comes over on the fax like it used to. So
shadow fax.
So I'm driving, and my wife says, "Hey, you're not going to believe this, but there is this post on the Trivia Rogues Facebook page about presidential trivia."